Welcome, welcome, welcome everybody back to the what was I about? I was thinking
Yeah,
back to
one
the
job.
future. Back to the
Ooh,
future. Yeah.
please, you had one job. We keep it. Hey, we keeping this in. We keeping it in too.
Incut. Scene.
All right, we gotta run it back now. We gotta run that back. Welcome back to.
Welcome back everybody to another episode of Beyond the Usual. I am laughing because my previous intro was bombed, as you can see. But on a serious note, I think today's episode is really impactful and powerful because we're talking about like current events that are happening in the world and how that affects us. And I think it's just a really heavy time in the world right now, especially if you're living in the US or Venezuela. And with humble hearts, we bring this episode to hopefully help some of you guys to shift despite everything that's happening. Because as wild as it is, and we'll get a little bit into it in a moment here, it's also nothing new. These big events, these life altering things and circumstances have been happening throughout history and time. So, without delay, let's get into it. Take us away, Paul Zay. Ooh, that rhymed.
Yes. Ooh, that did. That was good. I like it. I like it. So, thank you, and thank you for everybody that's watching today. Thank you for being on this journey with us, and thank you for allowing us to be on this journey with you, and allowing us to help you to navigate too. Because I understand that as we're going through our journeys and as we're taking on different processes, sometimes things can get a little scary and a little confusing. And we search for clarity and understanding on what's happening in the world, right? Because we all want to know, like, how does this affect me? And even if you're not asking yourself that question, it is having an effect on you. So you have to understand, first and foremost, what's affecting you and how it's affecting you. And what can you do about not the situation, but what can you do about your own personal circumstances, and what lessons can you extract from the things that are happening in the world today? So before we really get into it, I want to just give y'all a brief take on what's been happening so far. So as we know, U.S. forces conducted a targeted strike operation in Venezuela's capital, which led to the capture of the Venezuelan president, right? And so we was talking about it, right? Me and Kalisha, we was sitting here and we were just talking about it, like, what does this mean, right? Like, on a deeper level, on a more direct level, like, what does this mean for us? What does this mean for our audience and for the people in the collective conscious, right? And so we devised a plan that basically ties in the mindset and the self-development of what's happening right now in the world. And I just want to let you know, like, what's happening in the world is happening to a lot of people. This right here is just a little bit louder. And so we're going to be covering like things pertaining to resistance and things pertaining to the instabilities and just how it affects our own reality. And so let me ask you this to kind of like get this whole thing started, get it going. Like, what did you feel as you heard this news transpiring? Like, what are some things that came up for you?
I mean, when I first heard about it, I was in shock because somebody mentioned it without giving like details or context. And I didn't even know what had occurred. So it was shocking once I did get more details about it. But I think it was just this sense of sadness because I'm like, I know how much this is going to affect a lot of people emotionally. Like, that's, I guess, how my brain works. I'm like thinking about the impact of, these things and like how, and what our conversation is going to be about is kind of going to go into it a little more about the mindset stuff and how we can kind of heal and regulate even in these like dire tragedies and circumstances.
Definitely. I definitely feel that. I have a lot. The first thing that came to my mind, if I'm being honest, the first thing I thought about when I heard this, I was like, this nigga's a gangster. Cause like who does this? You know what I'm saying? It's like we're only 3 days into the new year and you already just like it's so unpredictable and you just never know what to expect. So I always like prepare yourself for the unexpected because whatever you think couldn't be done, he's gonna do it. Or somebody's gonna do it and it's gonna surprise you. So don't be too surprised or just prepare yourself for what's to come next.
One thing I always say, and it's, controversial, but I think despite his decisions may not be in alignment with a lot of people, the man has audacity. And a lot of people hate him, dislike him, whatever, right? Because he has a level of audacity that a lot of people don't have. He has a level of audacity and confidence to just like, he don't give no damns, right? Like, and it's like most of us have been raised and conditioned to care so much about what people are going to think and what the outcome is going to be. He don't. Not to say it's good or bad, but still, a lot of us, in obviously different circumstances, wish that we had that level of confidence and audacity to like just not care about external people and things. Like we want to do what we want to do and pursue our dreams and goals and things like that. He's definitely bold.
He is definitely. By the way, this does not reflect the DOD. I just wanted to put that out there because, I have to. I just got to put it out
Mm.
there. But you know what's funny though? This is how I feel though. I feel like this isn't even about, Venezuela or Trump. I feel like it's about how how systems respond under pressure, right? Because that's kind of what self-development is. It's about how you respond to certain things. And what happens is like when things happen, there's a weight that comes to it. There's a weight that comes behind it. And so the thing that changes your outcome or your circumstances is your response. And most of the times things happen in life because there's a reaction and there's an engagement to it. And that engagement wants your reaction. But a lot of people do more reacting than responding. And so whenever you're feeling this pressure or this weight, you got to understand that you have to do due diligence and understand how to respond and react to how to not react, but to respond to these things. Because when you get pressured, it exposes certain things. It can expose certain like instabilities or insecurities within yourself and now you're open to vulnerabilities and now you're open to being a victim as opposed to being victorious as things are happening. I've always been a big believer in that there's always opportunity in chaos, but you have to have discernment to recognize the opportunities when they present themselves. And right now, I'm not saying like this is an opportunity in any way, shape, or form to be heartless, but I'm saying that there is something that can be extracted from this. You have to look at it and not attach yourself emotionally to the circumstances because, yes, it can be sad. Yes, it can be disheartening. Yes, it looks like it's dire and there's despair. But when you take those feelings out of the equation, you can look at it from a different standpoint and ask, what is this trying to teach me? Or what's the lesson that can be extracted from this? Who can I become as a result of what has transpired thus far? Am I going to rise to the occasion or am I going to fall and crumble? Because typically everything has a ripple effect to it. So how you respond and react to one thing is how you're going to respond and react to other things. So when you are reacting to things that are outside of your control, how are you going to respond to things that are in your vicinity of control? How are you going to react? What do you got? What do you think about that?
It kind of brings me into like now I'm seeing the through line with how I've been kind of thinking about this. Because what you're saying about like going from reaction to response, the way that we do that is by shifting our mindset. right? Because essentially the circumstance itself, what happened, right? Whether it's on a global level or a cultural level or a societal level or a personal level, it's just the circumstance. It's the neutral, like the neutral fact of what is, what happened, and resisting it. That's what creates that internal war. So in order to go from reaction to response, we have to surrender to what's actually happening. And let me add some context, because like I don't want y'all to think like this is not one discounting the heaviness of what's happened, right? Like, I'm not saying don't care, don't act like you don't care, don't talk about the things. Um, I'm not saying don't even take action if you're an activist or something along those lines. I'm saying it's about being aware of how we engage. So, surrendering looks like us being, rather than resisting and being in the mindset of, I'm gonna talk to all my friends about this BS that Trump done did and harping on it, like what's it? We're like ruminating, You know how we tend to do, right? As people, like we like, especially when something big like this, everybody gonna be talking about it. You're gonna be seeing it on social media. You'll see, everybody that and the other, and your mama's cousin's son's uncle talking about it. And most people are problem focused because that's just the way our brain works. Like we tend to like harp on the problem, but that's exactly what creates that reaction that you're talking about. So in order to kind of flip the switch, if you will, I said flip the switch and I turned a knob. That's so funny. In order to flip the switch, boop, we need to surrender, which looks like recognizing what is, leaning into that, because I think, and this is a controversial thought, a little controversial, because like you may feel a little called out, but essentially, if you are ruminating on it and you're just talking about the problem, you're talking about the struggle in it, right? Then you're more focused on the injustice, the situation, all of that. It is going to be a distraction from the real root of the problem. And the only way for us to like resolve it, and not say resolve as in resolve the problem of the world and the kidnapping and all that's happening, bombings and all that stuff. I'm saying resolve in the form of less resistance from within. Because ruminating is really just a distraction of what the root is, and it really comes from like grief. It comes from fear. It's going to come from the true feeling of what happens when we hear these types of news, right? Mm-hmm. And it's devastating for a lot of people, but disappointment, feeling like we're not in control of things, like the sadness about the situation. But if we're just talking about the problem and we talking about like this is why he shouldn't be in office, and if XYZ wasn't, presidency, we wouldn't be here, and da 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 da, the state of the world, right? Like it's a distraction from really getting to the root, which is how we're actually feeling, what's happening internally. And that resistance is what's going to create that internal war, which again then reflects the external struggle and war that's happening in the world, or culturally, or, politically, or economically, like all of the things. It's literally this feedback loop.
You know what else though? It's exposing a weak identity, right? It's exposing poor habits, and it's also exposing the lack of the inner work that's being done. Because if you're somebody who is in the process, right? If you're early along your journey, I'm not saying these things to belittle. I'm saying that these are the things that you need to identify within yourself too, because if this is enough to trigger you, I'm not saying that it's triggering everybody, right? We're not belittling it. But if this is enough to trigger you and take you out of their character or out of the character development process that you're in, then that just goes to show that there's more work that needs to be done. Okay? You are so engulfed in certain situations that you lose yourself in them. That's a problem. And you can't be so engulfed in certain circumstances that are outside of your control that you lose the control that you have within your grasp, right? Because this right here, this situation that was happening right now is exposing the work that you're doing, and it's also exposing the work that you're not doing. Because immediately, I'll give you an example, right? Immediately as this happened, we got to talking about it and asked ourselves, what is this trying to teach us? Right? Like that takes time to really get to those kind of levels and to extract the lessons from life. But again, you have to understand where you are in your journey, right? You may be in the beginning, you may be in the middle, you may be somewhere, maybe a little higher caliber, but these are just events that happen that expose certain things within you that allow you to do the work, or it just represses you back further. It either progresses you or it moves the needle back a little bit. So these are just some things that you really have to recognize within yourself and identify and figure out what is the work that has to be done, right? Because here's a good quote for you, right? Circumstances don't create the person, they reveal them. They reveal to you who you really are. So things that happen in the world are just revelations. They are revealing to you who you truly are. So if you are doing the work, right, you're going to show up as the work that you've been doing for so long. You're not going to be a victim to circumstances, but you're going to be a victor who impacts their environment. So it doesn't matter what's happening around the world. You understand that that's a small percentage of what's actually happening. The vast majority is that there are things that are happening in the world that don't get coverage. But the things that they want you to focus on are the things that get mass coverage. But there's a reason for that. You have to extract that for yourself.
That's such a good point because it's curated. The news and everything, it's all curated. Again, not to discount anything in anybody's tragedy or circumstance, but it's happening every day all over. However, I thought it was a good point what you talked about with the example of us like thinking about what value can we get essentially despite the tragedy, right? Despite the circumstance. And I want to give a little more context because kind of tying it back to what I was talking about like resisting reality, what that would look like in this scenario, and again, tying this into the resistance as well as what you were talking about with identity, of where you are in doing the work. And again, it's not a good or bad wherever you are, whether you just started being more self-aware yesterday or 10 years ago or so on, right? But resisting the reality and resisting what is would look like maybe, and I'm using this example because I know people that have been in this mindset, and I actually was one as well, where when this happened, they're thinking more along the lines of, see, this is why I gotta move out of the US because we going to shit, right? The US is going to shit and I gotta move out of the country because that is how I can gain a sense of feeling of control and regulation because, I don't agree with what's happening in the world and it's getting crazy, et cetera, et cetera. Now, the issue with that is because it's resistance because you're again, this is resistance shows up in the language that we use. So using this language, there's a difference between saying that and saying, you know what? I'm not in alignment with what's happening in the US and I can definitely foresee me, maybe moving to XYZ or, this place because I feel like that's actually more aligned with my values of peace or less political control or more economic stability or whatever the case may be, right? I say that because the US ain't that stable with money. So anywho, neither here nor there. But you see there's a difference in the mindset, in the language that you use. And one is more resistant than the other, saying, oh, I gotta leave the country because this shit is wild. Versus, yeah, I'm not feeling this. But I think that maybe in having more of a sense of empowerment in your thoughts and beliefs and language that you're using is the difference. So that's what we're talking about. If you are having thoughts like that, that's what you want to kind of catch yourself in, because what's happening here, and you may not be in awareness of it, that's a victim mindset. I got to leave the country because I feel so unregulated that and whatever's happening in the US, right? Like, I gotta leave, like, because of that. Not because I love this place and I, have always wanted to live outside the US and, whatever. It's because of this circumstance. That is a victim mindset. And if you are in a victim mindset, you are literally giving your power away. So that is what I want to just kind of like give a little more context to what that could look like. Versus this happened, I'm going to feel this sadness and this grief. And yeah, I may, involve myself in a conversation or two, or, obviously you may turn on TikTok or Instagram and see a post about it, right? But I'm not going to completely engulf myself in watching the videos and the footage and all of that, because it's just going to keep me in this loop of being emotionally charged negatively, right? Which keeps me in the problem focused mindset, and then keeps that loop going of rumination and anger, and then it again reflects the internal world that just kind of mirrors what's happening outside the world. So that's what we want to catch, and that's how you lean into the surrender, just allowing what's happening, because it is scary. It is wild to think that the president can do these things, and whether the country agrees with it or not, right? Like, it is kind of wild when you think about it. But the key of doing this work is choosing more intentional and productive thoughts. Don't deny the feedback that your body and your nervous system is giving you, but don't ruminate either. Feel it, express it however you need to in a healthy way, whether it's going in nature, meditating, crying, just releasing it in more intentional and productive ways. And then that actually frees up space within yourself and on an energetic level to have more peace, be more regulated within your nervous system, and even get more creative with solutions.
Facts. That's true. That is true. This, like we said before, this is an opportunity right here for you. And this is going to expose a lot of people. Like, it's probably exposed a lot of people that are watching right now, because they're searching for more information and things of that nature. But there's different searches, right? You're either searching for an answer, or you're searching for drama. You're just searching for, like, you're just going down a rabbit hole of just things that are just unconducive to the growth or to the understanding of the situation. But if you're somebody who is searching for more understanding of yourself, then that's what this situation should have taken you. It should have taken you on the journey of just going deeper into yourself, as opposed to going deeper into the situation, right? So I think that's the thing that I want people to extract from this video as we come close to the end, that whatever this situation or circumstance that transpired, exposed within you, that is your opportunity to grow and become a better version of yourself. Because whether you're somebody who is identifying themselves with the circumstance, whether you're looking outside of yourself for answers when the answers are within, or rather you may have this habit of just diving into drama as soon as it presents itself. Either way, no matter how it formulates, this is an opportunity for you to grow and to shift and to change. Because a lot of times what happens is you make resolutions and you're like, man, I'm going to change, I'm going to do all these great things, and then certain things happen and it takes you out of that alignment. It takes you out of it, and now you're back doing the same old things. You're back to the same hopeless way of living, even though you had so much determination in the beginning to change your life, to change your reality. That's typically how things happen, right? So this is a test for you to determine if you're truly going to stick to this new version of you. Take it how you want to, but I feel like that's what this test is for. That's what I feel like this whole thing that's happening is for. It's for the ones who are truly committed to the process of growing and evolving and becoming a better version of themselves.
Yeah. So that's all we're going to leave y'all with. I know you got some value out of this, and it is my prayer that you implement something, or even just surrender into just like allowing what's been said on this episode to land for you, and maybe listen to it once or twice, because that's something that I've been doing more of as well. I used to be a one and done type of girl, but education does not equal transformation. So listening to something sometimes two, three times over to actually allow it to really resonate, to get the meat of it, you know? Allow yourself to chew on it, because no matter what, if you listen to it yesterday and then you listen to it today, it's going to hit different, because now you're in a new state of awareness. You're in, you know, maybe a new environment. You're going to be, there's so many variables, but you're going to get something different, and it's going to land a little differently and a little more deeply. Yeah, take what you will, take the roses and leave the thorns, as my old mentor used to say. And remember,
growth doesn't happen in the usual places.
And neither do we.
Damn right we don't. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Beyond the Usual, where we don't just talk about it.
We go beyond it, y'all.
Damn right we do.